All right, guys. So yesterday on CNN, we had a pretty interesting moment with Joy Reid, of all people. The topic that they were discussing was a U.S. intelligence report saying that the U.S. strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities did not, in fact, obliterate them, as Trump has been trying to claim. But she starts to poke at the rest of the panel here and just ask some very basic, fundamental questions of the history of how we got to this point in the first place and why the United States and Iran have an adversarial relationship. And the rest of this panel seems to not understand anything about this basic history. So let's go ahead and watch this clip here.
Understand that the United States plays an important role in the world. I am thrilled that the United States is trying to police the proliferation of nuclear weapons. Imagine what the world would look like if it was otherwise. And I think that to throw away
the United States would still be the only country that has ever bombed another country with nuclear weapons. And let me ask you one question.
Okay, so already, first of all, Joy is right on that. The United States is the only country in the world that has ever used nuclear weapons on a civilian population. We dropped 2 of them in Japan during World War II. But even putting that aside, this guy, without any irony whatsoever, with a straight face, says he's glad that the U.S. is policing nuclear weapons around the world and preventing everybody else from getting them. Number one, again, there is no evidence whatsoever that Iran was on the verge of weaponizing their nuclear program. That's just not true. That's a lie. There was no possible justification for the U.S. to go and bomb their nuclear facilities, right? This was an offensive, illegal act of war by Israel and the United States. So it's not even necessary from his position of preventing Iran from getting nuclear weapons. You already had a negotiation that was going on that would have prevented that from happening. The Iranians weren't even pushing for that in the first place. But you know who has been? Israel, right? You want to talk about policing the proliferation of nuclear weapons around the world? How about we start with our top ally in the region, the only country in the region that actually does have an illegal, covert nuclear weapons program? How about we start with the one country that actually has them before bombing a country that doesn't have them? Okay, but we can continue.
Why did the Iran hostage crisis take place?
So certainly,
I'm asking you
fundamentalist radicals took over the government who hate the West.
Why did they take over the government? Why?
Because they're religious jihadis who want to eliminate Western society.
They hate our way of life. They hate our way of life.
Or they overthrew the Shah of Iran, who we imposed on Iran because the Dulles brothers, one at the CIA and one at the State Department, decided that the oil beneath the soil of Iran belonged to BP and belonged to us. And when Mossadegh, who was the leader of Iran, the democratically elected leader of Iran, said that we would like to audit BP because we want to know if you are cheating us or paying the people of Iran based on the oil under their soil. And they said, you may not audit us. And then we overthrew him and he wound up dying in prison because we decided that we, in our arrogance as a country, got to own their oil.
And
wait a minute, no, one moment. And so the hatred of the United States had to do with the hatred of the Shah, who brutally repressed the people of Iran for 26 years until he was overthrown within Iran because he was not their natural king. They didn't want a king any more than we wanted a king. The bottom line is the arrogance of the United States' foreign policy. We act as if people act in a vacuum, and that nothing we do has ever led to the hatred of us in other countries. And I'm not saying that hostages should be taken, but you just said because they hate our freedoms. Well, that's BS.
No, they hate the Western world. I want to answer.
Joy Reid, I apologize. I was not familiar with your game. Absolutely spitting facts there. Every single thing that she just laid out there is 100% true. And it's baffling to me that we can have a panel of what? Like, these guys were the ones I heard speaking up the most here. 1, 2, 3. All 3 of these guys, they got up this morning. They put on a suit. They walked down to the CNN studio, and they had the audacity to put themselves on live national television to discuss the U.S.-Iran relationship without knowing basic history about how we got to this point in the first place. the reason that Iran, quote unquote, hates the United States, or the reason why they might chant something like death to America, is for the exact reasons that Joy Reid just laid out there. And this isn't like a secret or anything, guys. You can go and listen. The Ayatollah himself has, and don't get me wrong, I'm not like a big fan of the Iranian government, but these are just facts. The Ayatollah himself has described exactly what he means by that. He doesn't mean death to the American people or death to the United States as a country. He means death to American policies, death to American imperialism and militarism, and infiltrating in the region, trying to exert hegemonic control over other countries. That's what they're talking about when they say death to America. So for these guys to just sit on a panel, ignore the fact that we have been meddling in this country for decades and decades and decades, that we toppled their democracy and installed the Shah and tried to continue looting their oil for years and years and years, to ignore that and to give the analysis of, well, they just hate us because we love freedom and hot dogs and democracy and puppies, and they hate all of those things because they're bad. I mean, it's like, it's not even a child's level of understanding of what's really going on here. And what do you get as a result of that kind of an analysis? Well, you end up being able to internally justify anything. Because if Iran is just this evil and bad country full of evil and bad people who hate us because we're good and they're bad, then you could justify anything, right? You could justify going to war against them. You could justify regime change. You could justify destroying the country because they're bad people. We need to put down these bad people. I mean, that's the kind of situation that we find ourselves in when you don't understand American history. There is, to be clear, not that I can at least think of, a single country that hates the United States or that has an adversarial relationship with the United States that we did not have some sort of a role in creating that hatred, in creating that adversarial relationship. We have brought this upon ourselves at basically every single level, both in the historical sense and then also in the recent last couple of weeks and years, as Trump ripped up the previous Iran nuclear deal. He stabbed Iran in the back, even though they were following in accordance with that and the international inspectors and everything. He pulls out of that deal. He assassinates a top Iranian commander, Qasem Soleimani. Israel continues to poke and prod and attack Iran over and over again, bombing their embassy in Syria, assassinating foreign leaders on their soil with Ismail Haniyeh. The United States then ramps this up with Israel, destroys the negotiations for an Iran nuclear deal 2.0, engages Iran with an illegal and offensive war of aggression. The United States bombs their nuclear sites, even though there was no evidence that they were pushing towards weaponizing their nuclear program. And now we end up in the situation that we're in today. So, I mean, it's utter and complete insanity to suggest that, well, they hate us because they hate us because they hate us, and none of that history actually matters. The United States could do no wrong. The Iranian government could do no good. There's no possible way that we can work with them. We have to continue to bomb and to bomb and to bomb everybody who dares to look at us sideways. So, I mean, I'll leave you guys off with that. In terms of where we're going from here with Israel and the United States and Iran, I don't know. There are some talks. I mean, I guess Trump wants to continue restraining Israel for now. That seems to be the vibe that I'm getting. But who knows? It could be tomorrow. It could be a couple weeks from now. They could try to come up with some sort of a pretext or a justification to continue to attack Iran. The funniest part to me is that, as you see on the Chiron down here, U.S. intelligence is saying that these strikes did not destroy Iran's nuclear facilities. Trump is claiming that they were entirely obliterated. And so to some extent, I'm looking at that and I'm like, okay, fine. If you want to say that they were totally obliterated and Iran is never going to have a nuclear program again, even though that's not necessarily the case, then that's fine, as long as it means that we're not going to go to war with them. I'm fully willing to give you a round of applause. Congratulations. They were the best strikes any president has done in American history. So I don't know. I mean, I'll leave you guys off with that. We'll have to stay on this story, obviously, for the next couple of days and weeks, see if there's any potential for a hypothetical renegotiation with Iran, even though I don't know how anybody could possibly trust the United States, given that we just used negotiations as a pretext to attack them. But yeah, I'll leave you guys off with that. Shout out to Joy Reid, of all people. Many disagreements in the past, but doing, I guess, a little bit of like Wikipedia research can really help when it comes to these kinds of conversations. Although the opponents that she's facing in this debate are clearly not the strongest.
Politic guy has the best politics. Believe me, no one does it like you. Believe me. everyone is saying